All right, today we're going to dive into a pretty powerful idea. Some might even call it radical. It's this. What if understanding economics isn't just for the experts, the academics and analysts, but it's actually a fundamental duty for every single one of us, for every citizen? Let's dig in and find out why someone would argue that.
Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty provocative question. What if there was a science, a real science, where popular belief could actually overrule proven fact? Just think about that. A field where a widespread misunderstanding, something a lot of people just feel is true, could hold more power than literal centuries of research. I mean, that sounds impossible, right? Well, the argument we're looking at today says that this isn't just some thought experiment, it's the exact dilemma we face with economics.
So you're probably asking, how is that even possible? How can a science work like that? Well, it all comes down to two key features that, according to this source, make economics totally different from pretty much any other science out there. Let's break down the first one.
Okay, feature number one. Unlike, say, physics or chemistry, economic principles, well, they aren't proven in a lab. You just can't do it. A physicist can isolate a single particle and run a controlled experiment. But an economist, they can't exactly stick millions of people in a giant test tube to see what happens when you change an interest rate. No way. So instead, the principles have to be figured out or deduced from the super messy reality of human history.
Yeah, think about it like this. In the natural sciences, an expert can prove gravity works every single time. There's really no debate there, right? But in economics, it's a whole different ballgame. You're trying to figure out a single historical event where, a dozen different things are all happening at once. It's just messy. And that ambiguity, it totally opens the door for endless arguments.
And this leads to a really big consequence. Bad ideas can stick around for a long time. I mean, forever, maybe. Rival economic theories. They just can't be easily shot down with a simple experiment. A perfect example is the Great Depression. We're talking almost a century later, and economists, Keynesians, Austrians, you name it, are still fiercely debating what caused it. Why? Because you can't just rewind history and say, okay, this time let's try it without this one variable. It's just not possible.
The economist Ludwig von Mises, who we're drawing from here, he put it so well in this quote. He basically says, look, a doctor can show you the medical evidence and prove that some charlatan's magic cure is total nonsense. But an economist, they have a much, much harder time completely refuting a popular economic idea, even if it's deeply flawed.
Okay, so that was the first feature. Now for the second one. And this is where things get really wild, almost paradoxical. For a good, sound economic idea to actually work, to benefit society, the public has to believe in it. They have to support it.
This is so different from other fields. Think about it. We all benefit from quantum physics every time we use our smartphones, right? But most of us, myself included, don't really understand how it works. And that's fine. Or we benefit from some incredibly complex surgery, even though we could never perform it ourselves. But with economics, expert knowledge just isn't enough. If a really solid economic policy is unpopular, if people just don't buy into it, guess what? It's not going to happen. It simply won't be implemented.
So let's put those two things together. What happens when you've got a science where bad ideas are super hard to kill and where popular opinion holds all the cards? Well, the result is a pretty dangerous situation, actually. And this is where the rubber really hits the road, because public opinion is king. All those widespread economic misunderstandings, those fallacies, can turn into really destructive government policies. The most popular idea wins out, not necessarily the most correct one. And again, Mises just nails this reality. He says, look, in the long run, governments have to do what the public wants. If they don't, they're not going to stay in power for very long. So if the public is clamoring for a policy that's based on a flawed economic idea, well, politicians have a pretty big incentive to give it to them.
Let's make this real with a classic example, trade protectionism. Here's how it plays out. Step 1. A simple, really appealing, but wrong idea spreads around. Something like, hey, if we put tariffs on foreign goods, we'll protect jobs right here at home. Sounds good, right? So, step 2. The public gets on board and starts supporting politicians who promise to do just that. Step 3. Those politicians who want to win votes go ahead and implement the tariffs. And then, step 4, the economy as a whole actually suffers because centuries of economic thinking have shown us the incredible benefits of free trade. That popular idea, that fallacy, just became a painful reality for everyone.
Okay, I know this is all sounding pretty bleak, right? A science where bad ideas win. So, what's the solution? What can we do? Well, the answer we're exploring here is it's pretty profound. And
It's also surprisingly personal.
See, the way out of this whole mess doesn't just rest on the shoulders of the experts. Nope. The argument is that the responsibility, it lies with each and every one of us. With you, with me.
Mises is really direct about this. He argues that if you just ignore these economic issues, you are willingly giving up your power. You're surrendering your birthright. By not engaging, you are voluntarily handing over the keys to your future to someone else, whether that's a politician or some self-appointed expert who might not have your best interests at heart at all.
And let's be crystal clear about what's at stake here. This isn't just some abstract academic debate. The point is that your fate, your personal and financial future, your family's future, it's all on the line. It's all directly tied to the economic policies that get put into place.
And that brings us right to the core of the whole argument. Because our future is at stake, the conclusion is this. Every reasonable person, well, they're called upon to get familiar with the teachings of economics. It's not a hobby. It's not just another class you take. In this view, it is the primary civic duty of our age.
So what does that really mean? Primary civic duty? Well, think of it this way. Economics deals with the most fundamental problems of society, how we all live together, how we prosper. And because it's about that, it can't just be left to the specialists. It concerns every single one of us, and so the knowledge has to belong to all of us.
So, the idea is that you personally have a duty to learn about this stuff. But wait, it actually goes one step further. The duty doesn't just stop once you understand it for yourself.
Because the final takeaway here is that this is absolutely not a trivial matter. The spread of bad economic ideas isn't just a little drag on the economy. No, it's seen as a fundamental threat to civilization itself. I mean, think about it. Bad economic policies can lead to conflict, to poverty, to the actual breakdown of society. The stakes are incredibly high.
And that leaves us with one final, really big question to chew on. In a world like ours, where popular opinion has the power to either build our collective prosperity or lead us to ruin, is it possible that learning and then sharing sound economic ideas is actually the single most important civic duty of our time? It's a heavy thought.